to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Get a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Approve the minutes of 4/17/17.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. General public concerns, we don't seem to have anybody, so we'll move on to Dean. We are gonna go through this quick today.
Okay.
Name tag, your own name tag.
What's that?
You got your own name tag. On your shirt.
Oh, this, yeah. This is Peggy. Christine? You-
Oh, thank you. Address that to me, hey.
There's some charts under there, I like my charts. Well, the budget for this quarter, we're basically pretty much, we're just a few dollars over the budget for the quarter. The quarterly budget's $18,399. Expenditures were $18,740. The annual budget, of course, is $73,596. Year-to-date, $55,197. Year-to-date expenditures is $55,882, so that's a little over $600 over the budget. So we're pretty much right on where we want to be for the, this time of year. The quarterly budget, which is on that second, graph, Mid-America, $1,050, and that's a little bit lower because we had, a number of people on, Upper Des Moines getting the,
Aye.
the assistance for that month, so that's pretty much over, so yeah, it'll probably go up. Probably go up a little bit again. Utilities, third quarter at $750. Rent continues to be higher than what I anticipated it to be. I don't see that really going down from what I see with the number of veterans or widows needing assistance. It seems to be, at least this month, we've had a couple of extra ones come on, so I don't think that's gonna go down at all, for the fourth quarter. Food vouchers is running a little higher than what we anticipated also. I don't really see that going down from what I see right now with the assistance that is being, asked of us. But what, we really can't do much about that. We have to serve our veterans, and that's what we're here, and that's what we need to do.
For those food vouchers, are they, taking advantage of the food pantry out there when if they qualify for that, or?
Yeah, as far as I know, they are. And the special ones that we've had, the evening ones, I've always called some of these vets to let them know that assistance is there for them. The third graph, it's just comparison of first, second, and third quarter. Again, Mid-America, second quarter was real high. Utilities was high for the second and third quarter. And, the rent, of course, is higher than what I had anticipated. And, the number of county claims pending at this time is running around 24. And that averages anywhere from, that's pretty much the average what it has been too. And, I did a comparison of the claims that we get from Humboldt County versus the United States. And, tinnitus, which is the ringing in the ears, is the highest, most prevalent service-connected disability. Nationally, there's over 1,400,000 claims for tinnitus. Hearing loss, nationally, there's 1 million. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is 813, and back and neck strain is 773,000. That's pretty much, Humboldt really follows that national average, so we usually have the most claims for tinnitus and hearing loss and the PTSD. So we're pretty much in line with what the national average is indicating right now. The average claim to be completed by the VA is about 115 days right now. There's a resolution that's going to be presented this fall as a state capital. On the driver's license, veterans can have stamped on their veteran, and that at this time they've excluded the National Guard, and they've excluded the reserve. And there's a resolution going through to have the Guard and the Reserve have that stamped on their driver's license also. People might say, well, what good it does that? It's just, it's an identification. You know, if you want, bomb guards, for example,
They give a discount.
they give a 10%, they give it 10%, so you go out
Like
there.
that one, it's a red, says veterans right in it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you get stopped by the police, they may look at that and say, see, you're a veteran, and let you go. So that's happened too before. But anyway, that resolution is going to be, put in front of the legislation in the fall, and, they'll make a decision whether that will pass or not.
State or federal?
Pardon me?
State or federal?
That's, state. Honor flights, the pre-dinner is, this coming Wednesday, down at the Fort Dodge Fairgrounds. And what that pre-flight dinner really is about, it's all of the veterans going on that flight and their families are invited to it, and basically, go over the agenda, what's gonna happen that day. So it's kind of a really good deal for all the veterans. I know Dave's been on it, and, I think it's a pretty good, interesting, event they have put on that night. A very good meal, entertainment. The next flight, of course, is May 6th, and then the next flight is in September. The fundraisers right now for it are Hy-Vee, the bike run at the VFW, and Fairway. Those are the three fundraisers that we plan on having this summer. And with that, that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
On the 115 days, for claims,
Mm-hmm.
Is that gone up or going down?
It's gone down a little bit, but not substantially,
Not a lot.
you know. When I started this job 3 years ago, it was, more like 6 months, so it's gone down.
It's made some
Quite a bit,
improvement
yeah.
then.
Yep.
So we had, I know around the country, they've kind of beat up some of the VA hospitals for, have we had any issues where our guys have been, or our people have
Most,
been,
I'd say 99.9% are extremely pleased with not only Fort Dodge, but also with, the VA in Des Moines.
good?
They've got a thing in VA in Des Moines now that, any emergency used to, you'd have to call in. Now you can walk in down there and they'll take you any time of the day. They've changed that down there and it's good.
That's just recently, right?
Yeah, they just, I got notice on it here probably a couple, 3 months ago. Hadn't been very long, but they changed that where you could just walk in emergency or anything,
Good.
just like a normal hospital.
Yeah.
Before you had to have an appointment, everything.
You hear rumors about you can't go across state lines. Can you go to Omaha and get treatment?
Federally, you
Federal?
can. Yeah,
Yeah.
federally, you
What's the big
can.
scoop about on the news about VA hospitals? You can't go away to Omaha if you live in Council Bluffs and those kind of things. That's just rumors, I don't know.
It's just rumors, I think.
Yeah, you can-
If you're a veteran, you can go to any hospital.
Right.
If you're on vacation,
News media tears me apart sometimes.
yeah, if you're on vacation out in California, Florida, or wherever you're at,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're sick, you can go to
Yeah.
the hospital.
Okay.
Rightfully so.
Well, thanks, Dean.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to accept the quarterly report as presented.
Second, first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Do you want the graphs back too, or just,
Only if you wanna keep them on your wall.
I didn't know if you needed them.
No.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See?
Okay, we're gonna drop down and do a few things here on the bottom. We have authorized chairman to sign Fifth Amendment to the Cooperative Reimbursement Agreement between Webster County and the Department of Human Services Bureau of Collections.
That sounded like a,
Mouthful.
Sounds very important.
a Fifth Amendment.
What I gave you guys was just the changes, because I didn't wanna make an entire packet of this for all of you.
Okay.
If you want an entire,
No, that's fine.
I can, yeah, it's pretty thick. But, thanks to the gals at, CSU, they've got everything all on that one sheet, all the changes that have been made. The county attorney is also required to sign off on this. John has already been down and signed it.
Looks like it's a lot of privacy stuff.
Yeah. This goes out to all the counties involved. Webster, Hamilton, Pocahontas is on the right. And everybody has to sign off and send it back, and we'll get a copy back, signed by everybody when it's all done. So there are 2 copies of it.
Well, I'm assuming since John's already signed it, then it's all on the up and up, and
Yeah.
I'd make that, do you need a motion for that?
Yes, I
I'd make a
do.
motion that we allow, or authorize Rick to sign this.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any more discussion on this topic? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, accept and place on file auditor's quarterly report for the quarter ending March 31st, 2017.
Okay, for our office, we had $425 in passports this quarter, $228 on maps and plats, those are mostly drainage plats. And then we had, the city directory that we pay for out of our office and people reimburse us back. and postage, reimbursement and interest off of drainage warrant. So you have a total of $1,363.64.
I move we accept the auditor's report in the third quarter of March 31.
I have a first and a second by Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I see our dog license fee hasn't really kicked in yet.
No, it has not.
In the back.
Yeah.
Okay. Done. Should we approve claims?
Yes, we should.
I reviewed the claims. We have general claims of $193,544.36. We have drainage of $261,576.37. I move the approval thereof.
I'll second that.
A second by Dave. Any more discussion on claims? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, motion carries. I wonder if we have to go into drainage for DD 35.
Yes.
Probably will. So let's do our committee reports.
Wednesday, the 19th, started out with the Edmo advisory board here. I got all the numbers for the families that Edmo serves in Humboldt. I guess they're right on target. It's hard to believe they're ending, and starting getting ready for back to school. We haven't got the school year over with, but those ladies start to put things together. And then at noon I went to the Ministerial Association. We ended up for the food pantry and whatnot. They served 66 families, 136 people, 40 kids and 26 elderly. They placed an order for 4,632 pounds of food for the month. So we're discussing changing our every other mobile food pantry that we do every other month to every month, because we feel that the need is there, and like Dean said, with a couple of the veterans, if there's a few that we can help, and that's the reason why we have them. And then I ended my night at Willow Ridge for a CFR. Had a cultivation meeting on trying to get some of the fundraising for that new facility. They had kind of a neat deal. They had I think there was 4 or 5 clients that have been through CFR and gave their perspective as to drugs and alcohol and the treatment and the facilities, and versus all of the proposals for the new. So it was kind of I'd hate to say the numbers were really low for people, but you don't get a whole lot of people that are interested in coming and listening to the ills that we have in our society. But the people that were there did an awesome job. So, and my wife got to go to that one, so she kind of just was in awe looking at the amount of things that go on in our off-duty job. So that was all I did for the week.
How's the fundraising coming? You got it started?
They haven't really kicked it off. They're trying to do some of this stuff, we haven't had any donations that have caused us to think we're gonna shut the campaign down yet, so just getting it kicked off.
Very good. Peggy only had 2 meetings. 2 o'clock on Monday, we had our courthouse security meeting, and I think we're gonna have 1 more and be done. Been working on this about 3 years. We hope to have a document to use for internally with courthouse personnel. And then on Wednesday morning or Wednesday noon, the Extension Service has been having a leadership seminar for the last 4 or 5 weeks, at noon every week. This week, we had a session on government volunteerism. I sat with City Hall guy and Economic Development. We had 7 tables, just kept coming around. Told them about all the volunteer jobs they get with the county if they'd like to come to work. It was kind of interesting. Had 25 people that went through that for a week. And so we were just one part of it for one table, one day. But that was the extent from my meetings.
After the supervisor meeting Monday, we rode around with Paul and looked at road ditches and stuff.
I did it
I
too.
did too.
I did too.
I forgot to put that on my chart.
And then, I got a call Saturday from a lady that's been talking with Paul and very distressed with him over this dust control. I explained to her that we only had one bid this year for dust control, and she wanted to hire her own, and I said, that's your prerogative. She said that the stuff that calcium chloride she wants to put on there, Paul said he wouldn't allow it. And that's what, Rhodes, I think it was, the one that usually bids it.
Mhm.
But, Co-op, or the co-op got it this year, and they used something different, and she says that don't work, and she's up on a heavily traveled gravel road, and she says she's not gonna pay for it just for putting something on there, and so she was highly upset over it. She wants to put calcium chloride on it that this company used last year, and it seemed to work. And then she was saying that, when the co-op does it, where they only do it down the middle of the road, not on the edges, and hers is a heavy travel, so the dust still rolls and it doesn't do any good. So, that's all I had.
I had no extracurricular, meetings last week.
Lucky you.
I felt blessed.
Yeah. Okay, Monday after the meeting, I met with Dave Minikis out here at our landfill from Murray Engineering, and we're gonna have to do some work out there to improve the grade on the north side, 'cause we got ponding water, and then it gets into the leachate system and increases the amount of leachate water. So Dave's gonna get some numbers on that and set up someone to come in, and we're gonna have to bring in a little dirt and fill in the low spots, and, 'cause what happens is, over the years, the older part is the older part of the dump, and it's settling, and that's why it needs to be touched up. And then, and also after that, I went on this little road tour of some of the issues we have over in the county with Paul. And then Wednesday night, I was down in Fort Dodge at the landfill down there. And probably the main topic that night was tires. The tires that come into the landfill, the fee they charge. Right at presently, I think they said we're losing about $1 per tire, 'cause we charge so much a tire, and then to get rid of them, it costs $1 more. So they're looking at changing their fee on tires, but they don't wanna get too high, 'cause then people throw them out in the road ditches. So that's some of their concerns. But other than that, things are running pretty good down
We
there.
have to pump water out of that leach bed again.
It's
All
full.
the way. It's full now, what are we gonna do with it? All the way again?
Well, he thought maybe if we have a dry summer, a lot of it'll evaporate, hopefully. I was thinking about putting a sprinkler out there that sprays it in the air over the leach pond to help help on the evaporation. But the biggest issue is to get, as soon as it dries up, to get that land filled in and sloped so the water runs where it's supposed to and doesn't pond, and then it goes into the leachate tiles, and so that's what we gotta do there, 'cause we just pumped it last summer. That's all I had.
And Denise is here.
Oh, good. Why don't you come right up and we'll get started.
Yep.
Had a nice day for the
Bright
drive
early,
today.
it's beautiful outside.
Yes. Good news for us today?
Yeah, sure. Lincoln. You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Get this out of your way so you don't... No problem.
You didn't drive away it this morning, did you?
I did, because this is the first, you guys are my first meeting of this
You left
trip.
about 6 o'clock this morning.
6? I left at 4:45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5-hour drive, isn't it?
It's about, yeah, I mean, it's about 4.5, I would say, yeah.
Coffee.
Yes.
Coffee will be done.
No, I've had plenty, thanks. Okay, so what I have for you this morning is a very consolidated version of what we went over in February at our annual IGHCP meeting. Obviously, taking most of the focus from the trust level renewal to how the renewal might affect Humboldt County. So, and I have a couple of different options relative to rates in here, not knowing where you ended with setting your budget, but we obviously have some flexibility with rate setting, so we can hopefully, you know, decide today where we want to be relative to that renewal. So in tab 1, this first section is just an update of where we're at with membership. So since we were together in this group last time, we have added Ringgold County. So they're the second one under counties there. They're new to IGHCP. And we've also added the city of Algona, the bottom in the cities there. Over the last year, we haven't lost any members, and we're currently very close to adding Calhoun County. I actually thought that tomorrow we'd get the vote that they'd come on IGHCP, but ISAC has come in with some kind of unique rate guarantees for, yeah. So now I gotta go back and try to figure out if we can do something similar for them, but I'm still pretty optimistic that IGHCP is the best option for them. And then we have a handful of others looking at us for a January entry. Okay,
Further drives for you?
Pardon me?
Further drives for you?
I don't mind. I go all over the state. The hardest drive, honestly, is Emmett County. For some reason, that just seems like it goes on and on. And it's just like, sometimes I think, how can I still be in Iowa? I've been driving for like almost 7 hours, how can I?
You're going about from corner to corner.
Yeah. This page has been updated to reflect the 7/1/17 renewal as we've received it from Wellmark. So what I'm trying to get at with this page is, what has IGHCP's renewal been like since 2006, our first renewal, in contrast to what Wellmark has delivered us? I mean, as in contrast to what Wellmark's trend is. So if you look at the trend, that's where, that's the number, that's a real number that Wellmark uses to start their renewal process in each of those years with every non-IGHCP group that would be in the large group market. Okay, so for instance, this year it's 10.17 at the time of our renewal. So Wellmark is going to use that 10.17 as their base to begin everybody's renewal process that's in that large group market. And then you're going to go up from there based on how bad of a claims experience you're having. It's possible you could go down from there, but not likely, okay? So my goal has always been, we got to stay under that Wellmark trend. We have to do better as our group in managing our claims than what Wellmark's rest of the book of business is doing. And so on average, their trend has been 7.74 and ours has been 6.02. So we're accomplishing that. In most years, we're under their trend. In the years that we have multiple groups with high claims, we've been a little over. Now, keep in mind, just because under that renewal, it might say, for example, in 2010, 11.50, we received that as a renewal from Wellmark. We didn't take it. So that I'm showing you a very conservative view of what's happening. So these are the renewals as we've received them from Wellmark. That doesn't always mean that's what we've taken. We've negotiated them down at times. We've made plan design changes to get those renewals down.
So are those numbers Humboldt counties, or are those the full group?
Those would be the full group.
Okay.
Exactly, yep. So this, and I have a page that is more specific to you that you'll be able to see here in a minute. So this next page, again, still in vein of what's happened at the trust level, These are the the loss ratios for the whole trust. So the average membership for the calendar year 2016, we had 3,074 employees covered under IGHCP. So, you guys you make up about 66 of those people. Okay, so there's another 3,000 employees in addition to yourself. The average membership is 7,847. And the claims, and these are real numbers, the real claims paid for the IGHCP trust in 2016 was $33,617,000, almost $34 million. And our premium was $34,981,000, so almost $35 million, which creates a loss ratio of 96.10%. So what that means is that Wellmark used 96% of your premium dollars, of IGHCP's premium dollars, to pay the IGHCP claims. The target that Wellmark wants us to be at is about 93-94%. Okay, so we're a little above right now, and we had a bad year last year, but it's really coming down now. And we're going to have that, I mean, that's just the way it goes. We have some years that are a little higher than others. So this next page shows from 2007 through December of 16. It shows all of the IGHCP groups and what their annual loss ratios are by year to get to an average all the way over to the right. So Humboldt County, I've left yours so you can see where you're at. We've whited out the other group names, but if you look at yours and you entered in 2005, this report starts tracking in 2007. You've had good loss ratios. You had a tough year in 2010, and this last year in 2016 was a little rough. But your average loss ratio from 2007 through 2016 is 80%. So that's really good. I mean, that's one of the better groups within the
if you look through the whole list, we're on
exactly
the lower end.
Yep.
We were the first group in too, weren't we?
You were one of the original 7 or 6, yep.
Because one reason you're able to come down with different loss levels, we have a more select group than Walmart generally does.
Yes.
You don't let certain people in. And
without question.
Yeah. So you
We definitely pick and choose what is the best fit. So every single group that's got receipt, that has quoted IGHCP. Now, some of those groups I've wanted in very bad, and they just haven't come in, so it goes both ways. But there have been groups that have come to me, and I've received the IGHCP quote, and we are competitive over what they're doing today, but it would be at the risk of everybody else. So I've just said, now's not a good time. Okay, so now we're going to get into tab 2, which again is more specific to Humboldt County. So this is the page, Bruce, where you're going to be able to see more in line of what's happened to you guys relative to your renewals with IGHCP, not just at the trust level. So when you came into IGHCP, the savings, or in your case, increase in premiums was 0.40%. So we almost kept you exactly the same from where you were prior to IGHCP to that very first year you came in. So if you look at that, let's just real quick go down below then to that first line item where it says 2005 renewal. For this report, I use family premiums for everybody so that I can have something that's consistently comparable. So your total family premium in 2005, pre-IGHCP, was $1,059, okay? 2005 IGHCP, your total family premium was $1,063.93, just below that. That's the total family rate, all in. That includes all fees, all funding, anything that's built into your premium is in that number, $1,063.93. Now follow that across. Your fully insured premium prior to IGHCP was $1,059. We reduced it to $895. That's very important because that's the number that's gonna leave here and go to Des Moines, and we're never gonna see again. Okay, that's the fully insured number. The next item, $125, that's the money that we set aside to pay your claims. Well, that $125 is included in your total family rate. So you could say, okay, we increased your total cost in year one by 0.40%, but at the end of that first year, you had $17,000 in your reserve that you didn't have before. So did you really take an increase? You know, I would argue that you didn't. You took a decrease because you ended up with $17,000 more than you had before we met.
Right.
But I'm trying to use, again, the most conservative, fair approach for comparison. Okay, so then going back up to the top, the average annual increase in your insured premium, that's the number that leaves here and goes to Des Moines. Your Wellmark year-over-year average increase has been under 2%, 1.83. The average increase in your partial self-fund is 8.69. That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see the smallest, you know, we want the Wellmark number to go up the least amount, and we want your partial self-funding to go up a little bit more, because that's the money you keep. You don't use it, you keep it. And since the beginning of IGHCP, you have grown and maintained an extremely healthy reserve account, which allows us, you know, to work together to set rates that are favorable to your employees. You know, we don't have these huge rate increases all the time because you guys have done a good job at managing that reserve account, so you can leverage your rates each year by virtue of that account. So your average increase in total cost, again, 2.67. Your reserve through 2016, again, that's the end of your last plan year, this isn't current, last plan year was $385,869. Again, that's your money. It's currently at $387,249.
What's the general rule of thumb? How much what's the minimum amount you should carry in?
The minimum amount I want to see in there is an average of about 4.5 months of your average monthly claims. That's the minimum amount. That just allows us to continue to pay your claims seamlessly without having to come to you and ask for money. That 4.5 months concept doesn't give me any ability to leverage you year over year. So you guys are a little on the thick side. I mean, you could, and we have been. I mean, we have been reducing that, you know, or doing our best to. And I've got a couple of options in here, I think, that will kind of continue that process. So on the next page, this is the same report that we looked at a little bit ago, but only as it relates to Humboldt County. You guys have averaged in the year of 2016, 66. I mean, you're extremely consistent, 66 employees on your plan with 190 members. So that 190 represents your employees' dependents and spouses. Your premiums paid to Wellmark for the calendar year 2016 is $918,949. The amount of claims that Wellmark has paid on behalf of Humboldt County is $897,000 to create that 98% loss ratio. Now, I mean, if you follow your loss ratio by month, which I wouldn't encourage you to do every single month because it would be maddening.
Scares you too.
It'd be like watching the stock market every day, you know. But, I mean, you know, we want to take some snapshots now and again, but to watch it daily or monthly would be a little frustrating. But, you know, because your group on your own is so small, you know, only 66 employees, that's why you see January have a 52% loss ratio. And then the very next month have 161. Your group is just too small to...
We have one incident.
One, exactly. You have a premature baby and you're going to be at 200% loss ratio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I mean, and that's why you're part of this group.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you were renewing by yourself right now, you would be like a couple of the other counties that have contacted me this year who are facing 35% rate increases. because they have 100% loss ratios or 115% loss ratios, and they're all by themselves. And so that gives the insurance carrier the power and ability to say, well, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go? Who's gonna take you when you have a 130% loss ratio?
Mhm.
Nobody. You know? Now, that report was just your Wellmark claim. So this next one is your partially self-funded claims. This report is through March. So, and I actually just got, this is through March. I have data through March. So the partial self-fund claims that we've received, that you guys have sent over to pay your claims, this plan year, so through March, is $84,985. That's what you've given us to pay claims. That doesn't have anything to do with your reserve balance. That's new money in from this plan year. So far, through that same period, we've paid $84,341 in claims. So you're using almost exactly what we set rates at last year. You would think we were geniuses, but...
Yeah, you're good.
No, it's not that. We actually set it low. If you were a brand-new group and you didn't have this kind of funding, there's no way I would...
Get it that tight.
Have you do that, but you can do that because you have a cushion over here to, get an influx of money from in the event that you need it. All right, so we're $644 off year-to-date, but again, your plan year ending balance is $387,000.
Mhm.
So you guys are in, fabulous situation.
We're too old to have premature babies.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, yeah, maybe that was a bad example. Okay, so this next page, probably has a little bit to do with why you have a little bit of high, claims year. So this is what we refer to as a shock loss report or a large claim report. All of the individuals on this page are your employees and or their dependents or spouses. So first let me tell you what all of these numbers mean. So if you look at the third column in, scrambled member ID, it is possible that you're going to see, or you could see at some time, that same scrambled ID on this page 2 times. Because this report is specifically focusing on a diagnosis code, so a single health problem. So the first line here is, it says there's an S after the scrambled ID. That's because it's a spouse. It's not an employee, it's the spouse of an employee. That individual is between 45 and 54 years old. That person is actively covered under your plan, and the claims that Wellmark has paid on behalf of that one specific diagnosis is $328,000, and the diagnosis is diabetes. So, let's think of the absolute worst case scenario. Let's say this individual has diabetes but also has multiple sclerosis. So she or he could have $328,000 paid out for diabetes and then be later on this page with another, let's say, just $20,000 for multiple sclerosis.
Different issue.
Right. So each line item is a specific diagnosis. If it's an S, it's a spouse, an E indicates an employee, a D would be a dependent or a child. You don't have any that are canceled at the time, but if you ever see canceled show up on this report, that means that individual with this diagnosis is no longer covered under your plan. Okay? So, for a group your size, this is a few more shock claims than what I like to see, but, these are also the types of claims that are kind of hard to avoid. There's not much you can do with your plan design or, anything like that that's going to avoid these. It's just one of those years. Okay, so this next report is your receipts and disbursements report. This is sent to Peggy on a monthly basis. and it tracks what, it essentially it tracks money in, money out, okay? So the top section there is gonna be what, your bills are, and what we received for those, and the bottom section is then what we did with the money. So, if the thing that you're gonna wanna, I guess, kinda concentrate on with this page is the PSF claims funding, which in the top under receipts is the second to last column before the totals. So again, what you've given us to pay claims in this year through March was that $84,985 number. And then down below is what we, PSF claims processed, you can see exactly then what we process on a monthly basis. So the numbers that we process on a monthly basis, of course, are checks that are cut to physicians or hospitals, They're your providers. And then on the bottom left, you can see your account totals.
And I always make a copy of this and give it to the board.
Okay, great, so this is familiar to you. This next plan is an overview of your current benefits, with the gray sections that are highlighted being the areas of your plan that are self-funded or partially self-funded. I have not made any changes or modifications to your employee benefits at this time, unless I get direction from you. I think that your plan is running great. I don't see any, need to make any modifications. Okay, so now we're going to get into the numbers and setting rates. So this very first one is your renewal as I receive it, essentially apples to apples, keeping everything the same. So let's walk through this first. This looks a little more complicated than it has in years past too, because, I don't know, have you guys had much discussion, Peggy, on the January rates versus July rates?
No.
Okay, so when I was here last year, we decided to set rates based on this first section of the yellow part of your page. That you see that 609.21 and 1484.14 for the total monthly premium. Those were the rates that we set for the plan year that you're in now, last spring. Those rates consist of a Wellmark premium, claims funding, EBS billing fee, IGHCP consulting fee, admin, and then a legal, 50 cents to a legal fund for IGHCP. Those numbers combined got us to that 609 and 1484. After we set rates, the federal government announced a unscheduled suspension of one of the taxes that were being collected for Obamacare. Okay, that tax is called the insurer fee. The insurer fee represents about 3% of your Wellmark premium. So when this announcement was made, it read, the suspension would begin January 1 of 2017, and then start again January 1 of 2018. So it was going to be a 1-year suspension of this tax. The tax is blended into your Wellmark premium. So it's not as easy as just, it was hard for, to figure out how we're going to handle it. So Wellmark said, I'm going to send you all new rates for all your IGHCP groups, and it's going to be, all their premiums are going to drop by 3% beginning January 1 of 2017. This creates a problem for government because you guys operate your premiums and budgets and plans on a fiscal year. And what they're doing is on a calendar year. So my problem is that I've got to figure out a way to set your rates where you've got one rate for the first 6 months of this plan year, and then it's going to change in the last 6 months of this plan year, and then it's going to change again in the first 6 months of the following, and then again in the last 6 months. So we're going to have 4 premium changes in a 2-year period. So that's why I have two sets of rates in this yellow section. If you go back to the last 11 renewals I've done with you guys, they're all just have one rate there, because we've never had this before. But, so, if you look at your Wellmark premium and follow that across, your single went from $517.77 to $502.24. Your family went from $12.94 to $12.55. The first time you saw that, or that the auditor's office saw that, would have been on your premium statement, your bill that we send you for January 1 of 2017. So you actually took a reduction in cost, total cost, effective January 1st, all right? So your premiums ended up right now today, if you pulled out your Wellmark bill right now, or not your Wellmark bill, but your EBS bill, or your Wellmark bill, I guess you get both, you would see your premium to be $502.24 and $1255.58 at the Wellmark level. That's your current premium. When I received the renewal from Wellmark, I get it verbally, long before I get it on paper, up to a month. Because first we decide on a number, 9.43, then they have to take that 9.43 and apply it to all IGHCP rates, which are different for every single group. There's a total of 600 premiums that I get for IGHCP renewals, because you get 20 plans to choose from, and your 20 plans are uniquely priced compared to the next county's 20 plans, all right? So when I get the 943, there's a lot of work that has to be done before we talk and before I tell you what your rates are going to be. So I start that process before I get the written numbers from Wellmark. I just take 9.43 and I apply it to I apply it to 502.24 and 12.55, because that's your current Wellmark premium, and I've been told that's going to go up by 9.43%. So I apply the 9.43 by your Wellmark premium, and then I leave all other factors the same. For our first meeting, I'm going to leave your funding the same. I'm going to leave everything else stays the same. So that's what I did. So I have everybody's renewals done, and then I get the rates from Wellmark, and they're not, my math doesn't match their math. Like, I'm off. So I start trying to figure it out, and it literally took me about a day to figure it out, and then I called Wellmark. But what they did was they applied the 9.43 times your July premium. So your July premium was $517. Your current premium is $502, but they applied the 9.43 times the premium that has tax in it, even though there's no tax anymore. So what should have been about a 6% renewal ends up being 8.22%. So I was furious, obviously, because they applied this same math, the same concept to every group in the whole state of Iowa. So for you guys, it might mean another $17,000 in dollars going to Wellmark that shouldn't be. But we also have, like, Pottawatomie County. It was $200,000 to them. I mean, I might miss a mark once in a while and tell you that your renewal is going to be this, and it ends up being this, but I'm never $200,000 off. You know, I might be 0.25% off or something like that, but the reason we were off was because we assumed they were going to apply it by current rates. They didn't. We fought it. We lost. They said that's the way they're doing it. There was no wiggle room. It's not just IGHCP. It's every Wellmark plan in the state of Iowa. So that it is what it is. And I wish I had different news. We even fought them at our IGHCP meeting with all the board members present, and and it got kind of confrontational even. But their line had been drawn in the sand, and it was not going to change. So, with that said, it created a little bit higher renewal than what we initially anticipated. What did you guys use for your budget? No, we went with a higher, I think we went with 8.
Yeah, I think we used it.
Used 8?
'Cause that, you kinda gave us that heads up at the
We
meeting.
decided we would
Right.
pay a little higher.
I think I said you go between 5 and 8, or something like that, yeah.
Mhm.
So,
We didn't wanna make you,
huh?
we didn't wanna make you mad, but...
You guys don't make me mad.
Call it the lower number.
Yeah. So, if you look at the next page, I think this is a more reasonable renewal for you guys. The top section is unchanged, okay, so nothing's different on that yellow section. But then in the gray, what I did was I kept that same well-mark increase. But I'm reducing the amount of new money that is going into your partial self-funding. So I reduced what, you're currently putting in $69 on a single contract. I reduced that to $60. You're currently putting in $152 on a family contract. I reduced that to $121. Everything else then stays the same, with the exception of the IGHCP legal fee. The IGHCP board made a unanimous decision to do away with funding that account because there's more money in there than what you're probably going to use. If you guys ever need it back, it's there, but so there's also a 50% reduction there. But that would produce a 6.10% change from your current rates. And it's still putting, $91,428 into your reserve of new money. That's in addition to your current balance. So the other option would be is, take the 8%, but if you did that, I might consider, taking some of that money out of your reserve. I mean, I don't know that you need both. I don't know that you need to keep funding it at the level that you are,
Yeah.
and, yeah.
We have enough in reserve, so some year that go the other way can help herself out the other way next year.
Without question.
Mhm.
Looks like we're getting to the end of the pages, so you're...
Yeah, it looks like you're getting close to being done.
So just so you have a general understanding, if every single person in the county covered under this plan, every employee, every dependent, every spouse, all got sick at the same time and was hospitalized with claims in excess of $20,000 apiece, the most it would cost Humboldt County in risk or liability or claims is $600,000. That's 100% of your for one, the courthouse wouldn't be open, right? Because you would,
Wouldn't have no staff.
you wouldn't have a single soul working,
Mhm.
because every one of them and all of their children and all of their spouses are all in the hospital.
Mhm.
Okay, so that is never, ever gonna happen. But, so if you look at it that way, you have almost $400,000.
Yeah, so we're almost to that point, which is, we
Right,
have plenty.
that's why I said you're a little thick, so, but we don't wanna stop doing it, because if
Right.
you do that, you're eventually gonna erode all of that,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna be in a pickle when we have a,
If we do have a bad year.
right. So, instead of funding it so that you collect $600,000 every year, that would be 100% of your people being hospitalized. If you take the 6% renewal, that's still funding it for 15% of every employee, every dependent, and every spouse to be in the hospital at the same time,
Mhm.
in the same calendar year. So it's not like we're, funding it for 7%. We're still funding it for 15. I think you're probably gonna use around 17 or 18.
We'll find out next year, right?
We'll find out next year.
Didn't you say at the meeting that the difference between the good and the ugly year is one or two people come up with
Yep,
something that diagnosed that
absolutely.
it just throws you over the...
Unavoidable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep,
And in today's medical costs, we're
right,
at their mercy,
yep.
which is sad.
Right, and that's the other thing is, every year for the last 7 that I've been here, I've given you some sort of forecast on healthcare reform. I don't have anything for you today.
Yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen.
I really don't. It's hard for me to believe that I don't, but I don't. I just don't know.
what's gonna happen.
Not because neither does anybody else.
Right,
But
trust me,
they-
I'm
obviously
on
it's
top
not
of
gonna-
it, yeah.
It's not gonna trickle down to you, that up of the upper end, of it,
Exactly.
they have no clue.
Right, I mean, 3 layers above me don't know yet. So, you know, it's amazing. It used to be that I would be, let's say I'm in here for 45 minutes. By the time I get to my car and I check my email, I am not kidding you, I would have 4 to 15 emails about reform. It's crickets out there. I mean,
So it looks like, I have a question on this 3% tax that obviously that Walmart is keeping.
yes,
Because they don't have enough money.
right,
So anyway, they've set it as a year, calendar year.
yeah, it's not coming back.
Is someone sure about that?
It's not in writing yet, but everybody, that is one thing I am getting information on, is all of the pay or play, I don't know if that's familiar to you, but all of the employer mandates and rules and all of those things are gonna go away. I mean, all of our benefits attorneys are telling me that.
So what was that, just like,
They're-
after, oh, we'll do something, which they did very little.
It's kind
they'll-
of letting
they'll-
it implode. They're gonna just defund it, Obamacare, and gonna let,
But the tax thing, the 3% reduction, that's definitely coming back?
no,
No.
it's.
So I mean, they got it figured
I would
out.
say there's less than a 1% chance it's coming back.
So that's what I'm saying, they're saying, you're figured all this, that it's coming back in a year.
Right.
But you're saying it's probably not going to.
And Wellmark, if you called Wellmark right now, they would tell you it's not coming back. They
But
don't,
yet they're keeping that money, is the way
Yeah.
I see this.
that's the way I see it.
And then
That's
and
not the
then
way they
they
see it.
Yeah.
I see it that they're greedy, and...
Well, it's a way of them to get a lot more money.
Well, obviously, that's where the greed part comes in.
And I'm telling you, we fought this, we have been fighting this for a couple months.
Yes.
And we
I
took it to the highest level within the
understand.
state of Iowa that we could. And we're,
Well, my thought is, if the best guesstimation is that they're not gonna re-implement the 3%, so it's gonna remain 3% lower in the future?
yes, yes.
Does that mean that if you sit here a year from now, if nothing else, they will have passed along the 3%? that
I
they
would
didn't?
sure hope so.
So if we don't, I don't, no one knows anything else
Right.
on healthcare,
Right.
period,
Period.
right now, because the
Right now.
crickets are chirping on your
Yep.
email.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah.
it looks semi-favorable if it was just that alone, just that they
Right,
acknowledge the 3% reduction in the
right.
tax.
There's a lot, I mean, the things that are going on with healthcare reform, I shouldn't say there's nothing going on, but they're all on the individual side of it. They're not in the group market, like employer plans. So, you know, that could have, what's going on in the individual side could slowly affect the group side. I'm not sure how yet, but, you know, like April, I don't have the exact date, 7th or something like that. Wellmark announced that they were exiting the individual market. I don't know if any of you read that.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay. So that's gonna impact a lot of people here. Not maybe in this room, but in your county, it's gonna,
They can't get covered.
they can't get coverage. That means that there's 20 million people that are currently covered by Wellmark that are being dropped at the end of the year. About 3 days after Wellmark made that announcement, Aetna came in and made the same announcement. Aetna's the number 2 carrier for individual policies in the state of Iowa. And I don't blame them. I mean, they can't handle Wellmark's 20 million. Wellmark got out of the business because it was unprofitable. Because Wellmark, and I'm not trying to, like, have a bunch of compassion for them, but Wellmark was told by the federal government, along with Aetna and every other insurance carrier in the United States, that you have to enrich your plans. You have to add this, you can't have caps, you gotta take everybody, you know, blah, blah, blah. Everybody has to have these great plans, and you can no longer assess your risk. You can no longer price your product based on the risk that you're taking, because we're not gonna let you ask any medical questions. You know, we could probably find the minutes from 2010, but I guarantee you, when I was here and we were having this conversation, I told you that's not gonna work and it'll implode. I mean, there's no way that was sustainable. And it took a lot longer to happen than what we anticipated, but it's now happened. And it also happened with Aetna. And so that leaves one carrier that does still write business in Iowa, and I think it's called Medica.
the company. But they're out of Minnesota, very, very small company. And the last time I checked, which was maybe about a week ago, they hadn't filed for rate, for what their rates are gonna be for 2018. They have until June to do that. Because they haven't done it yet, tells me they're about to pull out too.
Wow.
Now, is the insurance at Farm Bureau rights, is that considered a group?
No.
It's an individual. See, I heard some people say they could go to that, but that's not true.
Mm-mm. They're not selling any new
That's rough.
policies. It's very rough.
There, you can thank Obama for that. But anyway, as far as this concerns us,
We could be here for hours.
Yeah.
as far as this concerns us, and from
Right, it
the
does.
great information presented,
Yes,
it looks to me like it would be a safe bet to go with the 6.1
I agree.
because of some of the other slight discussion, we don't know, no sense discussing down the road.
Right.
That we would not be hurting ourselves, it's budgeted at 8%,
Right.
so it's slightly under, that's not a bad thing, and we will be cautiously optimistic that some way, somehow, this will get sorted out above
Right.
somewhere.
Mhm.
So I don't know if there's any motion, but
Yeah, I think we do. You wanna vote on this, don't you, so you can move ahead? Yes,
Mhm.
I'd accept your motion.
I would make the motion to accept this whole plan business at the 6.1% increase.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Oh, second by Carl. Any more discussion?
I would like, as long as you have some of that pixie dust, that you can get us back a little lower next year.
I will definitely work on it. I always am.
We appreciate it.
All
One
right.
time you heard about there be a 40% insurance tax, is that?
Oh, the Cadillac tax?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still a little unclear. If that doesn't go, I think it'll go away, but if it doesn't, I think it's gonna be rewritten, because the way it's written right now is gonna have some serious unintended consequences. I mean, it's gonna exercise that tax on the wrong groups of people.
All righty. Can I have a vote on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Real quick, how much do you subsidize the family premium? So how much if the premium is $1,600, how much of that $1,600 does the employee pay on a monthly basis? Okay. The only reason I'm asking that is because that's the one area where we think the individual market changes might change the family, or might affect groups. We have some groups, like Clayton County is a good example. They have like 100 single contracts, and then they have 2 family contracts.
Oh, wow.
So they only have 2, because the county doesn't put much money towards the family contract, so it costs the employee a lot of paycheck deduction to have a family contract. So what those people have done, they've just gone out on the open market and bought policies for their families because it was cheaper. So now, that's the other thing we're
Now it's
analyzing
going
is,
away.
what's the influx to the county gonna be relative to
Mhm.
new people coming on? And how does that affect their budget, because that was unanticipated. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I like your point about the sustainability,
Mhm.
no one thought of
Far enough. Mm-mm.
when they thought this was great, that everything can be free.
Right.
And there's no restrictions, there's no limitations, there's no
Right.
checking. Well, obviously, that doesn't work.
Nope.
So-
Nothing's free.
If you wanna get past the insurance business, see how that works with college education.
Well, exactly.
So there you go.
That's,
It
yeah.
just, there is no free
There,
lunch.
yeah.
And eventually, you run out of money.
Not such a thing as free.
There is no free.
Nobody's
Occasionally a bad cup
Someone
of
is gonna
coffee,
pay
but-
for it, and it's too bad, but I'd like to be cautiously optimistic that they've got a year or whatever it takes
Right.
in the powers that be that chew through this, because they found out that they need to chew through it.
It's not as
That's
easy
why
as
the
they
crickets
thought.
are
Right,
chirping.
exactly.
No one knew what to do,
Well.
and no one knew what they were doing
How
when they
complicated,
implemented
yes,
it.
exactly.
So
For
there's
the current
the-
year, the county pays 87.5%.
Okay. So that's why your family participation is so high. So
Mhm.
probably you're not gonna see at the
change.
I doubt
county
that's
level.
gonna change much.
No, I don't
Probably
think it
about
is.
where it is.
Yeah, I really don't think so. But some of these groups, you know, they only pay, you know, maybe 25% of the family premium.
Mhm.
And then, so the employee's got $1,000 a month paycheck deduction, they just can't do it, so.
Mhm.
Anyway, I think you
Alrighty.
guys will be safe.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right,
very
thank
much.
you.
Good, good.
Denise?
Drive careful.
You bet, I will, thanks.
Okay, Janet.
She's learned all about insurance, didn't you?
Yeah.
I know, it's a mess. I have an old policy and I'm stuck with it because you can't get out of it.
You're right.
And you can't afford not to.
Yeah.
Life is interesting.
trying to get a cold?
I think I'll...
You are.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just hand you
Either
these
that or it's allergies.
quick.
Yeah, that's good.
Excuse me.
Ma'am? Okay.
Yep, there's two there. Okay, but those aren't irrelevant right now. First of all, we're gonna give you a history lesson, if that's okay with you. Catch everybody up to speed. First, we know this bridge was built in 1950 by Humboldt County. Humboldt County, we're talking about the bridge that is in city limits. It is out where the Indian is. Okay, it was built by the county in 1950. And the county has maintained and take care of, inspected this bridge until '09. At that time, the federal government the DOT decided that there were disputes between bridges in and out of city limits, who owns who's this, so they decided to draw a boundary. They said if it's in the city limits, it belongs to the city, if it's in the county, it belongs to the county, and if whoever built it, whatever it is, okay? So, the city inherited your bridge that the county built, because it's now it's in the city limits and it has been in the city limits. The purpose of this bridge basically has been for grain farmers, as I'm guessing why this bridge went up, so they can get their crop to town in a shorter path. In that section in the county, there's a lot of bridges. I don't know if the county likes to build bridges or what happened, but there's a lot of bridges. We did lose the one that was just north on County K.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that hit it, that one went away, which wouldn't have been a grain bridge anyway, because it was it was an old bridge. The other reason that bridge is being used mainly is, well, Myrna Nichols is out there, past, so she can get to town and work in the library. And the city guys use that bridge. They go out to the lagoon that way, because it's a shorter path, and then I'd say the main thing that bridge is used for is market, farmers coming to town. And it's not a farm to market. I don't know if you know that there's only so many miles in each county that's allowed to be farm to market, and that one is not considered a farm to market road. Okay, so this has been going on, the discussion on this bridge, since 2011. This file has been on somebody's desk for 6 years, and it's time to get rid of this file and make a decision on it, I think. We have a couple options, since it's now the city's bridge. If it comes to that bridge having problems, it has not been inspected since 2009. Don't know any status on it. The city has never assumed it. I think Stobie came and talked to you guys about it and says it's the county bridge, the county does. We talked about 28E agreement on us doing this, you doing that. Nothing's ever happened. No decisions have been made. And I'm not counting on a decision have to be made today, but let's work towards something here. The only things that I can see can happen, and maybe you have a different idea, is that if you look at that first map there, that square, the city is willing to, which now you don't call it the annexation, so I learned. We've racked up bills too, a lawyer from Vingstra and Kim over in Mason City. They're good at annexing and de-annexing, which is not de-annexing anymore, it's severing. They've changed the terminology on it. At one time, we would have to go to the Board of Cities to have this happen. Well, they've changed the law in 2017. They've now decided that this happens between the county and the city. We get to make this decision and go from that. It doesn't go to beyond us. They're taking the power from the state away on that. So we can sever or de-annex that area, and then when we do that, the bridge becomes yours. And you can maintain it since the county put it up, took care of it, inspect it, and do like that. Of course, you're gonna get property tax off of it, which is never gonna cover the expense of anything on the bridge, other than inspections. As far as I'm understanding, it's a very sound bridge. But I know this much about bridges.
The county has to inspect those every 23 months, I think. The city didn't have that requirement evidently.
The city has nothing on a bridge. The city never thought they'd have a bridge. The city, I'm the city clerk now for 2 years, but I know nothing about Inspections, I wouldn't even know who to call. I'd have to call Paul and say, Paul,
Mhm.
who do you inspect bridges, who does this? I don't know. And when it comes to funding, what is the funding purpose on bridge? I was gonna say, you guys are replacing the bridge, do you go to federal funding, right? State funding, how do you get your bridges replaced?
Oh, some is federal and some is state.
Mhm. And I don't even know if the city has the capability of doing that.
Probably not.
Well, they must have, because didn't Humboldt get funds for that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, whether your city has the funds available to replace bridges, that's, no.
We
That's
don't.
They have the ability to go after it federally.
We have the ability, but I don't know the percentages that the city has to pay versus, do you get
Right.
state funding too, or no?
I don't know about from the
They don't
cities.
have,
Usually bridges around major roads are farm-to-market roads and things like that. I mean, this is on a gravel road that's not gonna get the funding like another
Mhm.
bridge is going to get.
Yeah.
Is my guess, I don't know for sure. So our idea is that we could sever that square is everything north of, where if Second Avenue would go straight through, it's everything north there. You would, Myrna Nichols, she's where that little place on the north place there, her garage is actually in the county, and her house is in the city limits. I've talked to the owners of that land, which would be Fishers, Aaron Cran. They would love to have it in the county. Because they would like to have
The
Aaron,
taxes would go down,
oh, maybe, probably.
yeah.
And it's not so much that as the fact that they wanna have livestock. Aaron has come in and asked a special use permit so he can have some bucket bottle caps out there in where Jeannie Bogus lived, in that barn, because that's what it was for. It was for horses. And over in Fishers, they have a barn out there. And they have a horse out there without a special use permit.
Mhm.
And chickens. And they would like to do that. They think we're rural and that's the way they should do it. And right now, we have to ask them to remove those because they've never come in. And it doesn't bother me. I mean, we still have Jerome Kellner's on the north side of town. He can still have livestock because he's grandfathered in. We have another place on the west side of town that has livestock too yet.
In the
You know.
city limits grandfathered in.
In the city limits grandfathered in. Now, my idea is to sever it.
And if you sever it, it's automatically ours,
Right.
so. I mean, we understand that.
The only other thing is I was thinking we could do a 28E agreement on it. And I don't know what the wording would be on that, that the city would take care of the monthly inspections or whatever the inspections, if you guys would agree to the repairs or a percentage share cost, but we can't get state funding. But then Paul says he can't get funding if it's in city limits.
Right, so that causes a problem, so.
Yeah, so
I think
that
it's
would
probably
never
best
work.
to just sever it, and we assume it.
I agree. It's cleaner.
It's cleaner, simpler.
Oh, it'd be cleaner and simpler.
It is, and it's, you know, just a coincidence that it is the edge of town and people want to have their livestock. I mean, that's coincidental, but it doesn't hurt.
They were that, you know, like
Yeah.
Jeannie Bogus has a big livestock business
Right,
right there.
and it is cleaner, it is, you know, yeah, we don't want any more bridges, obviously wishes there weren't any bridges, but you have that, and it does make it cleaner and more reasonable to, the upkeep and, you know, down the road and any repairs, obviously.
Yep. So I think that's my opinion, the other,
I agree with
Greg
Rick.
told me he was in here probably 4 or 5 years ago and talked about that very situation, something's gonna happen, so probably time to happen.
Doesn't-
Yeah, I mean,
It's drug on long enough.
we can let it sit there and lay like a dog, you know,
Yeah.
until something happens, and then
bad
when
might
something
happen,
happens.
you don't hope for something bad, but
See, I don't know, do you insure bridges too?
yes, we do.
We have no insurance on that bridge. We have nothing on that bridge. That bridge is sat out there in limbo, and I think it's a huge liability that just needs to be cleaned
Yeah.
up. You know, if you
Yep.
guys
Well, it's a
Good
refuse,
clean
then
way of
it-
doing
I
it.
think another part of the clean slate. Yeah.
we'll
So-
visit with Paul and John and figure out what the
Yeah, I
best
don't
way it
think
is and sever it, and
Yeah, I think that's.
Now, I've talked to Vingster and Kim, they're over in Mason City, there's Mr. Vingster, he's a sweet guy. He would, go ahead, draw that up, he would do everything. I would assume that you would want that to be the city's expense, since we're the
Mhm.
ones who wants to take the action and you're
you're
just
the one
agreeing.
selling the bridge. I mean, given
Yeah,
the...
we're giving them, you gave it to us, we're gonna get it back.
Giving it back. If you looked into that, Janet, you could get the most of the legal
Yeah,
proceedings
he
taken
said,
place.
yeah, he can take care of it and do everything. He thought it'd be really easy just to go through that one board and get it done, and like,
That would be
okay,
nice.
let's go for it. But then the law keeps changing. The more you sit, everything changes, and
If they have the handle on it, and you could do most, if not all, of the legal,
I'm sure he'd be very happy to, since he knows everything
He's
about it.
familiar-
I mean, this
familiar with
file
it.
is half him, you know, on the different changes and stuff like that. I mean, we wouldn't even go through Stobie because,
Yeah.
I mean, you
I think
wouldn't
as
go
long as
to a
that's-
knee doctor for your heart problems.
that's what needs to be done, and I would like to think in not too distant future, you could bring it back to the board, and we could do whatever we gotta do, vote on it.
I
Okay.
don't know if we have to vote or what, we'll have to talk to John
Yeah,
Paul.
you'd have to
But-
vote, and I would guess you'd almost
Take a
have
lot
to do a
of the-
resolution on receiving that, and do you want me to look into further what needs to be done and let Peggy know? And then you
I
would
mean, you're
probably...
kind of there more
Yeah.
so than the county, I would suggest that.
I can do that,
continue
and
on.
I can let Peggy know what
Yeah.
his suggestion is and how to do it. So as a general rule, you're thinking you guys would take it back and be done?
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
don't think our options, we don't have a whole lot of options.
well,
no, we don't.
not really.
Plate of cookies would be good or something.
Okay.
Well, the fact that you're gonna see where everything needs to be on the city.
Well, yeah,
map.
I will talk to him and tell him that you'll talk to Paul, and
John, and whatever the
Figure
county
it out.
needs to do,
And then I'll just have him do all the legal, everything to make Penny's life easier, because don't you just love that when here it is, you signed it, agree with it, and done?
Richard's so good at working out, the city, the county owns a dam down here, why don't you see we give that back to the city?
Is it in the city limits?
Yeah, there you go. Get that back
And
to
the
the
county
city.
owns that?
Yeah.
See, well, the DOT doesn't have any control over dams,
Yeah,
they do have control
But
over
they
the...
run
Corps of
like
Engineers
crazy
does.
from that.
they might.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Janet.
Okay, well, I
That's it.
appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Janet.
Uh-huh,
Sorry
thanks,
for the
guys,
delay.
have a good day.
Todd, you're up next.
All right, guys, I ran into Bruce last week one day in the auditor's office, and he asked that I come and visit with you a little bit about the water supply out at Sheldon Park.
I just asked him how the well was working.
Yeah.
So, Dave and Eric, I don't know if you're aware, we just drilled a new well out at Sheldon Park, spring of 2016. So far, everything's been great. We've had no bad samples. We sample monthly. We are considered a public water source, so we're under some pretty strict rules, guidelines, pretty much the same as City of Humboldt, City of Dakota City, or any other municipality, as far as testing, reporting, and that sort of thing that we do to the DNR. So I know, Bruce, you expressed some concern, or maybe
Well, I just
talked about
asked when
looking
we
into
did
doing a
it, when we did the
coordination thing.
testing, I said, you know, as long as everything remains
Good.
good, we're good. But the first time we have a bad test, then we're gonna be chasing the cart, you know? So I asked him if our chlorinator, how our system was set up, if we're, you know, would we be better to put that into place and have it taken care of before we end up with a bad test? And he said that, you know, they really,
Equipment-wise, to do that is probably about $3,000.
So currently it isn't chlorinated?
It is not.
Oh,
No,
okay.
all of our samples have came back good, clean, no issues there. I
but
mean,
we're going into the time of the season when you start having all these campers out there. Well, all we need is one bad test and one bad
Yeah. and then-
issue with
then you
bad
gotta shut the
water,
park
and
down.
when we got a park that,
Close.
we're in trouble.
Yep, yeah.
And then doesn't look good, oh, they got bad water there, so that's bad press.
Yep.
So I just said, you know, for that minimal amount of money, I think we'd be better off to bring it to the board and ask for what we recommend or what our thoughts are. I think put the chlorinator in place and not have to worry about it. That's my opinion.
There are a couple other things that go along with that, though. It would be the ongoing cost of the chemical, which would add, which is minimal, Bruce, I get that. Probably the biggest issue that I see is that chlorine is so corrosive.
Yeah.
you either, almost to do it right, you have to almost build another building. I mean, we have room in the little pump house out there where we have our pressure tanks, but if you put that chlorine in there,
It'll eat up your
I
tanks.
think it'd eat them up. I mean, I worked at the city for 20 years, dealt with
So you've had
chlorine,
experience with that.
gas chlorine, pellet chlorine, liquid chlorine. Even with the new pool in 3 years, you were replacing exhaust fans, vents, anything
It's all
metal.
bad, I take it.
It rusts it, it's unbelievable. So,
How often
Yeah,
is the
scary.
water
You gotta
tested?
we test it monthly.
Usually when you're in the main season, when people
Been
are using
there about
it,
a
you don't
year.
have any
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah, it would have been
That Allen building
online.
we got out there,
in
Monsanto
May.
uses every spring.
About a year.
Yeah,
And
so
it's
right
been
now,
The
real.
test come back the first time,
Everything's
I
been
got a
fine.
shock.
To this point,
One time,
no
and then
issues
it's good.
whatsoever.
I don't think you're gonna ever have any problem to the
I
summer.
like to take a
when people
reactive
really use it.
approach, but I
You
just
don't
don't
have any
know.
I was, I understand.
It might be in the
Bruce's
spring,
concern.
and you
I'm
get shock, and it comes
proactive,
out of it,
but
it's good for the summer, so I don't know.
I don't like this,
Just
I don't
telling
like,
you my
it
experience.
to get to a problem and then fix it,
Yep.
but
It works fine, there's no
it's
problem
tested every
when
month.
you're using it.
I
Yes.
wouldn't think that they just would shut everything down immediately if you did happen to get a bad test. So
If you do get a bad test, you are required to post, hey, you have a positive coliform test. You can still drink the water.
Under
But
certain
don't.
ages, they don't recommend it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're elderly or if you're an infant, then
Mhm.
probably shy away from drinking the water. We would then shock the well,
Right.
retest it again, and once you got a clean test, you'd go back about your business. If you did get 3 positives within a calendar year, then you would be required to chlorinate.
There, I mean, obviously it's seasonal, correct me if I'm
Yes.
wrong, but
Yeah.
the amount of water that comes out of this.
Yes, April 1st through October 31st, but basically a 7-month window there.
And then that's gonna spike as it gets into the summer and.
Yeah, obviously May, June, July,
So,
August,
fair amount of-
Labor Day,
fair amount of-
Memorial Day to Labor Day, that's our peak.
Fair amount of gallons running through that, and it went through that season a year ago.
Yes.
That timeframe a year ago.
Yes.
With the test done every month.
Yes.
No concern.
No.
They never said there's any concern.
We never had one
Nothing.
positive coliform test, or E. coli for that matter.
Well, I understand, I don't, like I said, I never like, oh, this could be something that's a problem and we'll just wait for it to happen. In this case, I think it's better to just leave well enough alone.
Well, either that or just chlorinate the well in the spring and, like you say, shock it in the spring before you open the
Start
bucket.
using
There
it.
is a startup process
Oh, there is?
that the DNR requires
And you
that you
do
go
do
through. We shock chlorinate that well.
Oh, you do?
This spring, we
Okay.
shock chlorinate every well we have
Well,
before
then
we,
that's a good protocol.
yes.
And I think with all the water you're using, it probably will be fine.
I think we're covered, I really do. If there was any concern, if I had any, concern about the water we were providing the public, I would
That's good.
install
Yeah.
a
I
chlorination
just
system.
Okay.
Bruce.
said, I think we should bring it before the board and let the board
Yep.
at least be,
Yep.
In my opinion, what you're doing now sounds sufficient.
It sounds quite sufficient, but, and, understand where Bruce is coming from, because I'm of the same mind, that if it was something that was iffy, I'd probably be moving a different direction. Right now, it sounds pretty stable, you're
Yep.
doing the right procedures,
Yep.
everything has looked good, and you've got a year under your belt with that well. I'd say leave it alone and keep doing what you're doing.
Yep,
good.
and I understand where you're coming from completely, Bruce. I
Hey,
do.
that's fine.
I don't wanna provide the public with
I don't,
contaminated
And
water,
we won't.
but I just think the steps we have in place covers us really.
And you'll know if something happens, obviously, and you'll know right away.
Yeah, yes,
You tested every month?
Yeah.
monthly. We are required by the DNR, since we are a public water source, to test monthly, yes.
So that's, it's not like something that's gonna get away from you.
It'd be tough, Eric, for things to change
That's what I mean,
that
if
quickly.
if you checked it once, twice a year, but
Yep.
this is so stringently regulated that it really,
Yep.
God forbid something does happen, but you know it, and you know it right away.
Yep.
So I just feel like I feel like the procedure is in place, carry on.
okay, good.
All right?
All right, thanks,
Thanks,
Todd.
Todd,
Yep.
keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All righty, Paul's, see you outside?
There, yeah, he's out there.
It's past meeting went through.
Yeah, okay, I thought I heard your voice down there, so.
Why don't we push that chair back across the,
Fast break, wasn't it?
so they don't have.
Rick, can we have like a 2-minute recess?
Sure, let's take a
Okay.
5-minute break.
Well, I could've waited to run downstairs to get the cold medicine.
Yeah, all righty. We're all back here, so let's get back in session here. Paul, what do you have for us today?
We got a
Whole list
of stuff, it looks bigger than it really is. The first is approved contract and bonds with Heartland Asphalt for 2017 HMA resurfacing project numbers. It's an FM parent 62, FM parent 63, FM parent 65, and the local road is an L-69. That's P20, P30, P56, and P60. We awarded this a couple weeks ago, and we finally got the contracts back, and they're intact. Bonds are more than adequate, everything's in order.
So you need to change his signature.
Okay,
I'd make a motion, we accept the contract for those numbers that Paul read for Heartland Asphalt for our paving process.
I have a first, can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Any more discussion on the topic? All in favor?
Aye.
While we're on that,
Opposed? Motion carries.
sorry.
That's all right.
While we're on it, we have a pre-con scheduled already for that project, and it's, Wednesday, I believe, at 1 o'clock, this week.
We do that out there at secondary roads?
Yep. And, believe they're looking at, end of May with some milling, and probably the first week of asphalt would be June 1st. But I'll report on scheduling, staging, things like that after the pre-con next week. We've notified the schools and the cities, so anybody can be here. Odison wants to be here, they either can, potentially are looking at some work tied or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I can't be there that morning, so.
Yeah, it's fine, I'll report schedules, it's, for your information is what it amounts to.
Well, I think we should just schedule it that we're gonna be there, because if we have more than the 3, or that way we were not in violation.
I made sure and wrote it down, so we
Good.
get
Okay.
that
That way it's published so that,
And then if less than...
exactly, if we're under, we're under.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, now we have approved blacktop service contract proposal for crack routing and sealing.
Yes, we talked briefly on this last week. Blacktop Services given us a proposal at $1.81 a pound. We route and seal at a price that's based on the pounds of material furnished. And previously, we were $1.78 2 years ago with a contract, and this one looks like $1.81.
I move we approve the blacktop service contract for $1.81.
I have a first.
Second that.
And a second by Eric. Any other conversation on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, motion carries.
As time allows, we're doing Bode to Livermore, High School Blacktop West. Those would be the first 2, and then there's numerous roads that were done in 2005. If we can get them, we'll do them. It would be C-26, which is P-20 to Odison from C-26 is another one. Highway 3 to Hardy is another 2005, and then the little local piece through Pioneer, the 2-mile stretch east and west and north-south on the west side, so they were all done quite a few years ago already.
Okay, we got review 2017 rock files.
I got a handout for you that I tried to give with your agenda, but I found a bust on the way up here, so. I'll give it off, I thought I had 6, but I'll give a board copy to you, Peggy. The only reason, the one that we had reported on early, I believe, was the Bode or Livermore stockpile, is the only one that you'd seen until now. But this is, all of the stockpiles and the costs. Again, it's based on our labor and overhead at $40.82 an hour, and the truck costs at 50 cents a mile. That truck cost was last year's rates for the truck and diesel fuel, for when we hauled in, February and March last year without snow. This year, when I start pulling those numbers, I would get snow in with it, and, that tainted it, so. Lifetime costs, if you wanna plug lifetime for the whole fleet, I believe is 80-some cents, 83, just a second, I have it. 83 cents was lifetime, of the whole fleet, dollars per mile, so you can cook the numbers any way you want. Here's what I have, and
Okay.
Well, I guess my question, or my comment would be, I'm trying to figure out if, and I know we do this, like this year, we were doing it in the early spring when we weren't pushing snow and whatever, and the quarry was letting us haul rock. I guess my question is are we better, suited to have some of this custom hauled, if we can cut our costs down and then we take it from there to finish putting it out on the road? I'd like to explore that option just for giggles.
yeah, and as we presented earlier, 2016 contract rates for Franklin, Hamilton, and Wright, were presented with the first wave, and we're competitive, with those even if we...
But I guess my question is, we stockpile it, then we gotta put it back out on the road, and are we better suited to be doing some of the other stuff that we don't, I don't know if we're not getting done, or if we're, and...
The extra cost is loading, again, pushing in the pile and loading
Piling
again.
up.
But the good news is, that we can move it in great hurry once we're out there and once we're closer to the
Right.
haul.
Right.
And when the quarries fill up, where we don't have to wait in line for parts, that's good. Right now, we're hauling right out of the quarries, and there's not much of a lead time or a line, but later on, we can, and then we skip around based on who's busy and who's not busy. So it's a very effective, and some winters, if we were, pushing snow every day, this probably wouldn't work at all. We actually got in and out of snow on several times, even this year doing it. We pulled off and then be back at it another week or so later, but it kinda drug out, but on the other hand, it was in between events, and it worked well.
Some of that, and I think Bruce alluded to it, and, you know, we can't control the weather. Some years, there's more snow to move, and that's just the way it is, you gotta move the snow. But in the per dollar ton business, it's, you know, this is kinda tough to say, but, and I think he alluded to it, if you contract some of the rock haul, does it in fact free up time for...
Other things, I mean.
For other projects, you know, and, I mean, it's hard to put that down on paper, I know, because, you know, Paul made a point, you know, some years you have snow and, you know, you have to deal with what's the matter at hand. But in other years and other times, or a given time, there's lots of, you know, other projects out there that you could factor that in. They're not in a truck moving the rock, they can be out, you name the project, I won't go into, you know.
Well, and there isn't a lot of good projects at the time period when we do this. We did do even, we have 10 trucks, and we have 16, 17 employees, so we had 7 guys that were still trying to cut trees or do something
Yes.
productive, if it was possible in this time period. And some years we might not, but I wanted to point out, even with, $40.82, our big, the big animal in the room isn't the trucking, it's the $40.82 an hour. But when we look at a 14-mile haul average, Franklin County in 2016 paid $4, Hamilton paid $4.70 for a 15-mile haul, Wright paid $4, for a 12-mile haul and $4.60 for a 16-mile haul. So it was a very good utilization of, I mean, it would have cost us money at those rates to haul this year. And I tell you, there will be years, one of these years we'll get a real winter where we'll push snow from November, or from
Yeah.
Thanksgiving to Easter. And not only will we not have time to do some of our normal winter activities, we won't get any rock moved. And beyond that, we'll have a trainload of comp time built up that people expect to use. So the double-edged sword there is the snow melts in April, the roads, frost boils are in trouble, we need every blade on the road. There is a time and place for direct haul, and there would be one, because we have a reduction of staff, and if we have a late spring and we didn't get anything moved, then I'd be the first one up here saying, you know what, we have this road map, once we get through the frost boils and we can safely haul, maybe we contract out 50 miles of our rock to be hauled direct haul, and pull us off, and instead of loading and unloading in that
Haul it right
case,
to the road.
dump it. You get a drop bottom, somebody, my first believer in that was Chuck Becker, I rode with him, he said he can spread rock. And the answer is Chuck Becker can spread rock on the road with a drop bottom.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's another incremental thing in, you know, the direct haul. And, there's, you know, Paul mentioned that it can be done, obviously, and there's time and place. You know, you have to factor things in, but it is weather-related, it is other things related, and it's, you know, some of even the stockpiling, the thing that's hard to put down on paper, weather possibilities, yeah, what else can these guys be doing at, you know, $40 an hour for the rock hauling, that are out, you know. So I think we definitely wanna keep all these things in mind as we move forward.
And we go
Yeah.
with the flow, as whatever they give us, we have to work with it.
Okay.
Just for the median,
Gary,
that
you got-
isn't
you got a
$40 an hour for the,
Why
that's
don't you get a belly dump?
the truck and all that, you know.
So we don't have to.
Excuse me?
That isn't the, we don't pay our employees, aren't making $40.
No, that's overhead.
I know, but I'm
That's
just
what the
saying for
cost
the
is.
media, they aren't paying $40.82.
That's the share of work comp, that's the share of insurance,
All
that's
the stuff
the,
that goes along with the
all
truck.
per employee, everything that's
Total
prorated
cost.
into the labor cost is in that.
I just didn't wanna hear at noon that we're paying 40.
That's the total
Once
comes
they're
combined.
bringing,
Yeah.
we aren't that deep, so.
No.
And I
All right.
think
Gary, you had a comment?
I just don't understand why you don't buy a belly dump and get with a program like other counties. You can, if you get it set up right, you can haul 3 loads of what your dump trucks haul. Save them things and quit wearing them out. Such an expensive truck. Get a belly dump and put a man in that thing, and you talk about hauling rock and spreading it nice. Webster County bought one, now they ordered another one. I've talked to other counties, guys that got them. It's the only way to go.
Well, it'll be a conversation we can have, but
Yeah.
Well, and belly dump comes
Thank
with
you.
it, and we try to buy any equipment with multiple uses, and since we're in an open format here, I'll answer these questions. We don't buy a straight truck because the tractor, because unless we're gonna buy a drop bottom and get multiple uses out of it, the only thing we could do would be to haul the stockpile or haul the road. The good news and the blessing that Humboldt County's got is 3 quarries. We got rock close. Cassuth County has moved toward pups and's bought some pups, and they've had some success with that, some not. Again, the preference is to dump it from a straight truck. That's, the main thing is whatever we buy, we wanna be able to get hours on it, or instead of buying it, if we're too high priced, then if we're in the opportunity, I'd recommend we hire it done. Pick some roads and do it, as opposed to buying the truck. The other thing is, we have the hires since 2006, I believe, are Class A CDLs. So we got 6 guys out there that can run the tractor trailer, the rest of them don't have to have it if they don't want to.
Right.
So we don't even have the staff that could run the thing in
yeah,
the first
we have to
place.
train her.
So that's why some of what we've gone through is what we've gone through.
Alrighty. Okay. Review resolution 26-14, secondary road ditch cleaning policy.
We started last week with a review of this a little bit. We went and saw some examples on a road trip. Some of the road trip was tied to this. Again, I'm gonna back up. the road ditch purpose, the reason what we have a road ditch is to drain the road surface. A road surface, a properly drained road surface lowers the water table. It provides storage for snow melt and rain. It doesn't necessarily drain, the ditch doesn't, but it drains the road surface. Helps with frost boils, adds more stability to your base in the wet conditions if you're up above the water table or the surroundings. Sometimes the road ditch is an extension of the natural water course, thus drainage law comes into play. 468-621, drainage in the course of natural drainage, reconstruction and damages. This section talks about the responsibilities of anybody, including secondary roads, or farmer to farmer, that you can drain in the general course of natural drainage by constructing or reconstruction, open or covered drains. Discharging the drains to any natural water course is not liable for damage. In other words, if it's a natural drainage system, it can be done, and it's the county or any individual property owner must receive and convey, and it would not be subject to damages unless it increases the quantity of water or changes the manner of discharge of land of another. In other words, just as the one neighbor can't shape his entire field to dump at the fence line on his neighbor, the neighbor would be able to file for damages, nor can secondary roads. The second part of this, drainage connection to a highway, 468-62, allows when the course of natural drainage of any land runs to a public highway. So there are places, but it's all tied to natural drainage. We saw numerous locations last week, and a few of them were definitely natural drainage, and you could see where you didn't have to look and struggle to figure out what the natural water course was. On that basis, we then go to Resolution 2006-14, a resolution for establishing secondary road ditch cleaning policy for Humboldt County, Iowa. Be it resolved on this 14th day of August 2006 by the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors that the following applies to all road ditch maintenance activities. Number one, the need for ditch cleanout will be determined by engineering department. That's us, in secondary roads. Number two, excavated material shall be solely for secondary road use. And then, the material is the county's, is, number two. And then as it says, unless at the discretion of secondary roads, that's us, with written permission of the property owner, that'd be the adjacent property owner, material may be placed directly onto adjacent field. In some cases, we've thrown it with written permission into the neighbor's field, and then we may knock it down or whatever, but they do with whatever, the material at that point. This was passed and approved the 14th day of August in 2006.
That says you may, just because the guy wants some dirt doesn't necessarily mean he's gonna get it, and you gotta use it, right?
Right, the driving motivation for a lot of the ditch cleaning was somebody needed the dirt or somebody wanted their field to drain. And this policy removed that, to get it back to the general benefit for the traveling public for the whole county versus the need for the dirt or the need for the drainage. And that's the way it was, and this is one of the heavy hitters where we have, as you saw, a lot of requests out there, and some of it, we have not done, and some of it you saw where we had cleaned, over the years, and that's the point. But this is one of the policies, and, I reviewed it, showed you some of the background on it, and, where we go from here is, up to you.
Well, I think some changes we need to put in that is that if we're gonna clean the ditch, the right-of-way will be reestablished.
And generally, we do that.
Generally, but it should be written in our policy that
Okay.
we, don't you agree?
I would say every right-of-way that's infringed upon should be reestablished.
Yeah, maybe that's the
Ditch
correct-
clean out or not. And that's just, that would, to
I
some
would-
degree, alleviate a lot of these issues.
I can tell you unequivocally that we've staked the right-of-way when we've cleaned a full-fledged clean-out.
Yeah.
Where we've had a few places where we've cleaned from here to there, we haven't. And we could have done a lot, if we'd have got the extra 5 feet in those
You
cases.
could do a lot better job.
Tore the back slope out. The property owner at this case that was pushing it wouldn't have been happy with that, but in the long haul, it would have been the right thing to do. I didn't know it happened in that case.
This is something that's been there since they built the road. There's X amount of right-of-way. Paul, do you know off the top of your head on a quote-unquote secondary gravel type road, what the right-of-way is?
Most of it's 66.
Measured from,
It's 33 feet from the center of the road to the out, each way.
that post,
Most of the time, if it's established, it starts with control. The 33 is by definition from some government line.
Mhm.
But for the sake of argument, the center of the road, 33 feet either direction. I'm not trying to-
Most of the time.
Most, I mean, and I'm not at, I would look at each individual, but so, that's a pretty good benchmark.
I'll send you an Attorney General's opinion on this, that's very simple to read, and the history of this. I'll send you before I keep going, because and there's cases we'll get in big trouble by just doing that, but, other cases not.
Because, I mean, that is, a right-of-way is a right-of-way.
Well, and then there's other confusion, because in the 50s, we may have graded the road to 58 feet, for instance. Our needs line only went 58 from edge to edge, and then the farmers were allowed to fence it at 58. So don't assume that fence is the right-of-way.
No, I don't assume anything.
Well, there you go, so...
We don't assume anything, but, for the most part, and to not overly complicate this, you can drive along and you can see, on your standard, kind of average, typical, if the right-of-way is being infringed upon, it's being infringed upon. And, I'd like to make a public statement, that's gonna come to an end. And,
Well, part of the phone boxes or the telephone lines would be, pretty sure that they're
Pretty close, generally.
You're gonna be your...
The phone peds anymore are put out of convenience, so...
Right.
They would be at the edge of the crop line, whatever was there at the time when they replaced it.
Yeah.
Even some of the things that were plowed in by our permits now, if they're trying to stay out, they should be three rows into the corn, for instance, by permit. And if they're doing it in the middle of summer, they don't wanna do that. So they're trying to, no, we have issues, and right-of-way is really touchy, because that's if we took 3 inches too much, if we did something, we're in deep,
I'm not talking about the super-duper technicalities, I'm talking about blatant,
well,
into that.
but when we start getting into blatant, it's 3 foot, 5 foot, 10 foot, what's blatant, and that's where we run in,
It's pretty simple. It's not, and I understand if you wanna get right out there and you're gonna go stake the right-of-way, which you've done, and you should do, yeah, you wanna make sure that it's to the inch when you're doing that. But past that, I've driven around, you guys have driven around, we see a lot of, some of these issues are caused by infringement over the field into the right-of-way.
no, we have a lot and you're right, we have a lot of people, we have a lot of intakes hit, we got a lot of intakes covered up, we got the intakes full of dirt, it stops the drainage, they call us and say the farm field's not draining. We got a lot of that, and we point out at the time that, hello, please do not farm the extra 5 feet here and stay away, but it's a very delicate issue, and to lead the charge in that will,
When we took the fences out, the problem existed. As long as we still had fences, we didn't have a problem.
well, and the fences aren't necessarily the right-of-way,
But
Carl.
it created more problems since we've
Right.
taken.
No, there's no doubt about it. The fence removal's created a lot.
In our ordinance or whatever, if we get asked to clean something, and are we going to visit with the farmer? Because, if we're cleaning just around the intake, to me, it doesn't make any sense to clean around the intake and haul it 17 miles to our stockpile. If the farmer wants it in his field, sling it into the field and let's get moving down the road to the next.
Absolutely. And
So
that
my
window is
second
about
question
5
would be-
weeks long or 4 weeks. and
Right,
That's about it.
I know, and our time frame is, but that's where I figure we gotta figure out the best time to do it. So then the second thing would be, if we are gonna do that, that means we gotta correspond with the landowners and say, you know, I don't wanna sling this into your field and you're planting it in 2 days. And today probably isn't a good day because everybody's chomping at the bit to get corn done. So I guess that, we gotta correlate that somehow, that when our time frame is, we're gonna do it, less.
But part of the problem there, Bruce, is the workload that they have. That's not the only thing they have going on.
I understand that, Carl, but that's not the issue with the farmer.
I know, but that's the farmer's.
Here's a request.
Well, then that's the reason you have people jumping in with their own tractor and pulling it out and saying, I'm gonna clean it, but it
I'm
doesn't
not
get
saying you
cleaned.
shouldn't, but that's not the only concern they have, or that. The
I
county's got a
know.
whole bunch of concerns.
I know they got
That one little
concerns.
clean out is maybe that farmer's concerned, but maybe there's other cats that need to be fried at the same time.
Okay,
If you need
then,
to haul a load of corn someday, and somebody wants you to take a truck the other way, you got other concerns you need to do.
I understand that,
And
and
that
that's
guy you had to tell no to was not very happy.
they're right. And that's the
That's why
reason
I'm
we're
trying to make sure.
in the...
But we're talking this ordinance right now.
I have getting back to that, I mean, obviously, it's just a review.
Yeah.
I just
We need to get to it.
recommend, I don't think we need to make a motion on anything,
No.
that we, take this under advisement, and as a board, we have a little further discussion on this, particular resolution 2006-14. Because we've had good discussion
Yes,
here.
and he showed us last week places where people's field tiles are dumping in the ditch.
Yep,
And they want us to clean the road ditch so their field tile works better,
correct.
which I think should be the landowner's cost, because we're actually draining their farm, not our road ditch.
So I think that we brought up a lot of
In
good
places, Gary.
If that tile was put in 75 years ago, I don't think the farmer drained good then. I think if you really read the laws, the county has got to keep that ditch cleaned out.
Possibly, I can't say I've read the law, so,
I can
That
show
would be a huge question that we should ask Doug the next time
yeah.
Well,
we have Doug on.
and it's very plain and simple.
per all this really great discussion, and it's a great review, and I think we've accomplished that we don't forget about this, and then as time allows in the near future, we discuss it a little bit more in depth.
The problem is,
This is an
you
open
gotta
hearing.
talk to the farmers a little bit.
Question.
I can tell you a farmer that just takes care of his ditches, he mows every inch of the ditch, he had 1 full mile. He wanted a little bit cleaned out around an intake. They cleaned that whole mile out, and he had water standing in places where it never stood before. They just totally destroyed that ditch. And he couldn't mow it, and then right away it rained and it sloughed back in. This cleaning ditches,
That was,
farmer don't want.
Birch Avenue, there's no snow removal road that
Because
he's
snow,
referring to.
the snow
Looked
goes
pretty
in the
tough
ditch.
last week, didn't
The
it?
first snowstorm.
I gotta
hit,
listen to this,
oh,
I'm
it's
gonna keep going too.
Don't
Yeah.
tell
All
me
right.
about it.
Is that fair?
I was gonna-
We've not really tabled this, but great discussion for a review, really good discussion, that we don't forget about it, and we
Gravel.
bring it back up at a future board meeting.
Yeah,
I think it's warranted.
Bruce, what I was referring to, not that we don't need to do that, but for example, right now, all these hail damages, everybody wants a roof done right now. And the guy that doesn't get it done right now is mad, but they have to take it in order when they get to it. That's what I was referring to.
And I wanna
It's all
go through
important.
an example from last fall. Farmer called up, he bought property next to his. The previous farmer had been farming most of the right-of-way egregious. Eric would drive by and agree. Quarter mile, he bought another 80. We looked at it and said, we wanted to try last fall to put it in the field. Last fall didn't get to it. This spring, we looked at it again, and in the time frame of this spring, he'd actually tried to stake it out, so he didn't farm it. And we're gonna confirm that his stakes are pretty close. He's staying out of it because we need the dirt for over south of Thor anyway. We found in the short time we've been researching this that they'd farmed right over one of the intakes near the dredge ditch. We got it staked, we're gonna stake it, he already staked it, what he thought looked right, and he's gonna stay out of it, and we'll either clean it and use the dirt this summer on a box culvert, or there's not a power line, there's not a power pole in this segment that's a classic, easy one to throw back in the field this fall if it works, if we don't get to it to finish it off. And then when you looked at the opposite side of the road, same thing. There's 1/4 mile of it's clear full, and it's farmed 3 rows. We're getting ahold of the landowner on that. It's gonna be Beans, the tenant we're trying to get ahold of. We'll stake both off and try to stay away from it. And then we can, in these, we need the dirt, it's good for both of us. We'll do it this summer later on with the construction of the box culverts. It's 2 mile haul from Thor.
I agree with Eric, I think we need to come back to this and get, so we all agree upon this policy, so we,
Do a work session on it.
so we can't get people shooting at us from all sides.
Well, and the thing is now's the time. We have several open requests that I have not answered this because I'm trying to figure out what the answer should be from the board. Because this is the policy, but if the policy is in need of repair or drastic changes, I don't wanna answer the question.
Sure.
So at some point, this,
Have them come to the board. I mean, I don't see no problem with that. I mean,
Yeah, but I think we need to do some changing to that.
I think we do too,
Plus or
and
minus.
Yeah,
I think so too, and that's my point of
Okay.
further discussion.
all righty.
when,
I would make one comment.
Sure,
I
Dave.
would like to have a copy of all the policies that Paul is supposedly following, and let's have some work sessions on them and go through every one of them. You know,
That's-
take an hour after a meeting
that's
every
what
week or
we're
every
working
other
on, we're on
week.
number 2 today.
And go through them and let's look at all the policies and, you know, 'cause some of them probably 30, 40 years old that don't even apply anymore.
Yeah.
Let's get some up-to-date stuff.
And you got a copy of everything, and we mailed it to you in the playbook, the blue book.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's got everything in it.
That is it.
Every ordinance, every policy is in there, including this.
There you go.
All righty,
Enough.
let's move
We
on.
gotta do, keep reviewing those policies.
Well, and I wanna go through these because I want
We
to
just
force
got
this to happen.
one little drainage thing to take care of, then we're done.
All right.
And then we'll do our work session.
Very good, I'll get ahold of Dave, Mr. Powell.
Okay. I need a motion to go into drainage.
And so move, we go into drainage.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The contracts, we need signatures, you'll see that
That.
on the contract, and then the bonds I have marked for you.
Okay.
Oh, I know, I'm just,
I think it needs to be done. Sometimes what-
Well, we got open questions we need to answer.
on Birch, down off C-49, last night I drove down there to that facility. I just drove Birch down from...
So it's south of 270?
It's north of, what, is 270 C-49?
Yep.
So north, about, it's between half and 3/4 of a mile, there's a hole right in the middle of the road about this big, and it looks like there's black dirt in there, so I don't know if they repaired a culvert, but it doesn't look like the dirt around is...
Like we do.
It's sucking
Like we
something.
do.
It's not a farm.
Varmint dug a hole, maybe?
I don't... it looked
And the
like-
only- if we
I
blade
got
it-
out and pushed,
Oh.
and it looked like it was...
If we bladed it, you'll see a black windrow somewhere if there was a varmint, but out Birch and a half mile
Well,
north
it's
of
between a half and 3/4 north
Wasn't think I don't need any more adjustment.
on that, it'd be like in the west.
Yeah, correct.
Just in two spots.
What's that?
Excuse me?
No, I'm extremely good.
Um,
I just said you guys will give us...
I have them,
You can discuss it.
can I do this?
Oh, there's three of them,
See,
okay.
Can you imagine where this one is right now?
on the bonds, and maybe you got them.
I came back from meeting last time, there's a tractor running every field at midnight.
Don't know anybody around here.
Yeah, four died during the fight up, the weather.
Rough.
Gary, you got any corn planted? Can you run today?
Pouring up,
Can you run today?
we got pouring up, we just got one field left,
Gonna
picking
do
up
it.
rocks today.
Can you run today, you think?
They were going last night, when I drove over, Bob was over east of Gilmore, and Julius's were out scratching around. I think they're probably trying to go this morning.
I saw somebody from Twin Airport Dodge running last night, 10 o'clock.
Bob, he must, is that no-till?
But weather.
Pulling that bean ground, I'm sure that was,
Unfortunately.
no, it was planned.
He was planting.
Okay. All righty, we are in drainage. What do you have for us, Trish? Just one little thing, the way it looks?
DD 35, he's authorized engineer for preparing the engineering report on the ag well drainage closure project. That's Harlan Schultz and Recover has already got a good start on this.
Is that the one he's requested? Has he had made any formal request of any kind? Nope,
Not specific to
Okay.
engineer that I'm aware of.
I was wondering.
I talked with, Harlan about 10 days ago, and we discussed that, if he was going to put that together, and he was hoping that by the numbers that Rick got him, that it would help push him one way or the other. And I guess that was my question as to, what are we doing this for?
To get that number.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
that's what an engineer report
All
would.
right, well, I just wanna make sure
He
that...
wants the number, that's what he's asking for, so.
And it'll have to be the two options, it'll have to be an
The
initial
one?
one, just a separate line, and then another option for improving the C, I think it is.
The other
Right.
main two.
The other, the numbers Rick showed the other day, preliminary stuff was, I think, was what enticed him to proceed. So,
Okay.
I would make that motion.
To have Jacob Westergaard?
Well, that's the one he's been working with.
Yep.
Second that motion.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
I
It's unanimous, motion carries.
guess I would hope that would be another ag drainage well that we'll
There you go.
have the ability to say is in the process of being closed.
John Tolbert sent me an email saying that it looks like there is gonna be funding. They're not gonna cut it off.
At least this year.
Mhm.
You get anything else, Ryan?
Have you
No.
heard anything from them up by Virgil's? Any numbers?
No, I don't think they've been running yet.
Well, the pretty good chunk of that drainage on the claims this morning was that. That's why I wondered if they were getting close.
They're very close.
They were waiting for some 42 inch and some kind of connector between the 42 and the 36.
Six. Okay, that's probably,
Well, Virgil was in a good mood yesterday at church, so I
Was he?
assume things were progressing.
yeah, it looks pretty good out there. It's nice, they're doing a nice job of leveling and,
CD2 camera.
Doug, I gave that to Doug Marso to organize, because he'll be the contractor that'll have to expose the, tile.
Right, but I mean, he's gotta know where to dig, that guy's gotta tell him where to dig. He wanted to come out the other day and start digging, but he can't do that, the contractor's gotta tell him where to dig, 'cause his camera goes so far each way.
Right.
He doesn't need to dig in any ditch, he needs to dig out in the field.
Mhm. That's what I thought he understood, but.
Well, he called me, he wanted to go out and start digging, no, Doug, I said, don't. You're gonna
Well, and I thought he was supposed to be there when,
Doug needs to be there when the camera guy gets.
right.
So do we have that, is Doug lining that guy up, or we lining that?
He's supposed to.
Okay.
He said he would. He said he would contact Gary Jacobson Westergaard when this guy was gonna come down, because I explained to him that he has to expose this area to be able to get into the look. So did you straighten him out, or do I need to talk to him?
I straightened him out, I says, Doug, when the camera guy can come, then you need to come at the same time, 'cause he's gotta tell you where to dig.
Right.
He thought he was gonna dig on each end, he was gonna call dig people, so he didn't hit anything. I said, you're not gonna be in the ditches, you're gonna be out in the field. He may
Just
be 500,
miscommunication.
I don't know how many feet that camera goes,
Right.
the cable.
that's why the camera guy needs to be there.
He wants to dig the hole so he can go both ways.
Right.
But it's gonna be, who knows, depending on the weather, but we're gonna be planting it, in 4 days probably.
So would you want Doug to call that guy and see if he can come?
Somebody needs to call him, I don't know.
Well, I'll call Doug and tell him to get ahold of the guy then. I'll get his number does Doug have the phone
Pete House number, yeah.
Number? Alright.
Just keep in touch with us.
I will.
Okay. Anything else for drainage?
No, I laid those.
I see your list is here.
This pretty much current list that you put together for us?
Pretty much.
Okay. Thank you for doing that.
It looks like it's shorter.
It is.
It's getting shorter.
Good.
Instead of 2 pages, we're down to 1.
And it's,
Mhm.
I have the other 2 sheets for primary contractors.
Alrighty. So anything, I gotta get Peggy back in here when you're done.
Now, are you trying to push her out?
I'm trying to keep this thing moving.
I would make a motion to go out of drainage.
Second that motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're back in general session.
We getting Doug's, please send Doug Marshall's number to me,
Yep.
please, and I'll call him.
Uh-huh.
Gary, you said
Thank
by the end of the
for
week,
doing that.
if it stays dry, you're gonna, I'm just gonna have him call you, because that way I don't have to be the moderator between the lineup.
Well, and that's what I was trying to do with.
I know, but he went out there and wanted to dig right away, 'cause
Yeah, I don't know, I don't know.
Here's I was sent this by Brandon Meyer. This was a Wright County job. The difference is, he hired, this guy hired him to sub and finish because he didn't have a long enough long reach to do this, and this is his side, and that's
Can I
Brandon's
have,
side.
make a copy of this?
Just for FYI,
Rocky
on
thing,
the difference
whatever it was.
in contractors.
I can give it back.
Wow,
I'll leave that
that's a lot
for
of
you to
good
sign, if you would, please.
You don't need it. I'll take it off your hands, thank you.
Oh, well, wait a minute.
Who the contractors would say.
Brandon,
Brandon Meyer, Dan. You wanna look at it? Alrighty, I think we're pretty much done with everything, other than things that you'd like to discuss with us.
It's time to renew the contract on our copy machine out here. They submitted, Marco has a pretty good deal on it, but I wondered if you wanted me to reach out to some other people who do copy machines and get some quotes from them too, or just stay with our current?
Is there any kind of an increase, or
No, it's a decrease, actually.
actually a decrease?
Happy with it, I'd say stay with it, my opinion.
Now, does the one guy service the whole building, or
Um,
does each department have different?
each department has different, you know. So the attorney has his own contract, and
Mhm.
the assessor does, we do, and this one gets signed by you.
Yeah.
Because it's actually the courthouse one, the assessor takes the one.
I would think that if we'd have the same guy do them all, it'd be cheaper yet.
You would think so, but I don't think they're all up at the same
Same
time,
time, that's
no.
the problem.
There might be competition too, if they...
Maybe having competition keeps them a little tighter. That's a good point, Carl.
You don't have a captive audience that way.
That's
so
true.
is this just a year to year then?
This one would be either a 4-year or a 6-year contract. That's what they do anymore, they don't do. But
That's
it
a
covers
good-
everything, all the parts in that, we just have to supply the paper and the toner for it.
Okay. All the repairs and stuff, they take
Yep,
care of
they
that.
take care of that.
If it goes down, they bring you a new one.
Yep, yep.
Mhm.
At the end of the lease period, you just give it back to them and they give you a brand new machine, so you don't have to worry about an old one.
Wouldn't a 4-year be better in that case then than 6? If I said 4?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can go either way, let's see, what's that figure?
so is it locked in at that rate for,
4-year or 5-year is what they have, 4-year or 5, I'm sorry,
and is the
not
price the same for, per year?
there. I'll show it to you, I don't, on camera, but.
Oh, yeah.
What's your recommendation, Peggy? You use them a lot more than we do. You've been around in and out the copy machines, we see them once in a while.
Normally, I would stay with the 4-year, but they gave a significant decrease in your monthly payment with the 5-year.
Yeah, there's
How much difference is there, Rick?
roughly $40
A month?
a month.
Yeah, and spread that over 4
Going to
months.
5 years versus 4. That's quite a bit.
That is quite a bit.
When you consider looking at
The good thing is, she
60
said
months,
they'll update
40.
it if something happens to
This
it.
is basically a lease for all
Yeah.
practical intents and purposes.
So if it went
If it blows
bad,
up,
I'm assuming they would probably bring a newer, updated version of,
You bet.
so.
I would
And this
say,
machine would be used by our office and the treasurer's office mainly. Sometimes the recorder will come and make copies on ours if something happens to the assessor's machine. Those two offices share it.
I mean,
But we use it all the time for elections and for,
it gets a lot of use,
It
but
gets a lot.
it still states the only responsibility is paper and toner.
right,
Anything past that,
they take care of it.
so blows up, quits, whatever.
Yep, and if it gets to the point where they just can't repair it, they bring it in.
Yeah,
Maybe you should go with the 5-year then.
boy, it looks like to me.
Looks like they want, that gives them, you know,
Yeah,
I
they
guess.
know,
It saves us.
I'd go.
It saves us almost-
I'd say with that, if it was $4 a month, I wouldn't worry
No,
about it.
it's-
$40 a month?
You almost get a year free by going.
I'd go with 5-year.
You get about 8 months free by going to the 5-year.
I'm good with that, if you're good with that, and that's your
Yep,
recommendation.
yep, and I don't need you to make any decisions or anything, I'll just have Rick sign off on it, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, put it
Yeah.
in Rick's lap.
Yeah, put it in my,
No, we got agreement, so it's not all in Rick's lap.
And then there was one other thing, when we sent in the recommendation to, on the master matrix for the Wacusta finisher farm, it had said on there with Melody's stuff that it was 410 points, but this Cindy with the Department of, Natural Resources said that she figured it out and it should be 415. The subtraction was not correct.
oh,
So she wanted us to make that correction on here, have you initial it and sign
That'd be,
it.
what, 420, be
440.
440?
It still fails, it's just that the numbers
The
didn't
number
add up
needs to
right.
be correct when they
Yeah,
show it.
yeah. And then all you need to do then is just initial where it says the number of the 415 to 4. And that's all I get.
Okay. Anything else the board would wish to discuss?
I move adjourned.
All righty, got a first, second by Dave, all in favor?